Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our March 22nd Fiscal Management Committee meeting. I'm Lynn Harris, Chair of the committee, and I will start off by asking my fellow board members to introduce themselves. Ms. O'Neill.
Good morning, Pat O'Neill.
And Dr. Daka.
Good morning, Judy Daka.
And I'll also ask the other members of MCPS's central office staff that'll be joining us today to introduce themselves as well. And I'm just, Ms. Webb.
Good morning, everyone. Lori Christina Webb, Chief of Staff for the board.
And
hi,
yeah, go ahead. I'm
the Associate Superintendent for Finance.
Hi, I'm Tom Clausing. I'm the Executive Director for the Office of Finance. Rob Riley.
I'm Rob Riley, Director of Financial Services. Yvonne.
Yvonne Alfonso Windsor, Budget Supervisor. Tony.
Tony Tucci, Budget Specialist for Budget Office.
MJ Bergstresser, Supervisor of Internal Audit.
Is that everybody?
We have our friends from the Office of Finance, also, Office of Operations, also, Lynn and Seth.
Okay. All right. So first thing on our agenda is just the informational summary from our last meeting on February 2nd. Does anybody have any comments, concerns, edits, amendments to that informational summary?
No.
Okay.
Nope, I'm good.
Then moving on to the first item of on the agenda, category 12 expenses, and I will turn that over to Rob, Dan, Yvonne, and Anthony.
So we have Rob doing the presentation here with Anthony supporting wherever he can. So thank you, guys.
Good morning, board members. Good morning, everybody. I think there's a slide presentation available as well. Thank you. And next slide. Next slide, please. So we're here today to talk about category 12. I'm sorry, previous one. I think I'm talking too fast. So as you can see here, fixed charges represent a large portion of our operating budget. In fact, a little more than 21%. It's actually the second largest category of expenses next to instructional salaries, which are usually about $1 billion. So category 12 funding includes pensions, health benefits, Social Security, insurance, workers' comp, and tuition reimbursement. So this letter or this presentation is going to focus on pension and health benefits, which represents about half of those fixed asset charges that we talked about before. So since 2012, the council has required MCPS to send letters on March 31st and September 30th, providing information about category 12, our fixed charges. So the September 30th letter, which if you recall, we did that in the fall, that's more of a look back at the prior year. And what we do there is we address all the budget lines and we look at the budget to actual variances of how we did for the prior year. Whereas this letter addresses only pension and health benefits, and it's more of a prospective look of what we're looking to in the future. Next slide, please. So this letter, the letter's broken up into several components for the council. And the first component is describing our current strategy for what we want to do with our pension funding. So this goes back to in FY14, the board had a goal of reaching 80% funded level. That's since changed. Now our strategy is to achieve a 90% actuarial funded ratio. So there we go with the word actuarial again. And as you guys know from our last fiscal management meeting, the actuaries did present information on this, and they're actually coming back in May to dig further deeper. So if there's any detailed questions that I can't answer regarding the actuarial aspects of this, they'll be happy to address that when they come back in May. So what does that mean, the actuarial funded ratio? So in our pension, the actuaries calculate a liability, which as of June 30th, 2020 was $2.3 billion. And then we look at our planned net position. What do we got in the bank? And as of June 30th, that was $1.8 billion. So there's a shortage of $500 million. So what the funding ratio does is there's a portion that the board contributes each year. And the idea is the higher you get your funding ratio, you have more of a cushion against bad times, because like we'll talk about, there's a lot of different assumptions and variables that go into these numbers. So you could have a year where basically everything's going the wrong way. So the more you have, the more well-funded you are, the more you'll be able to withstand that storm of bad times. So the next part of the letter is estimates of annual employer contributions. So that is in the letter, and that ranges, it's going to range from like 65 million to 73 million. And again, that's part of the actuarial report. What they do is they look at what the employees contribute, and then they determine based on all these variables what MCPS has to contribute to get to that funded ratio. So other things that are going to appear in the letter is major factors affecting pension contributions. That's in the actual report. And then it's also going to address a comparison of current budgeted actual revenues in our active and retiree group insurance funds versus actual and where we are with fund balance. And that's the final component there. Next slide, please. So this one's a little busy and has a lot of numbers on it, but basically what it's saying is what we've been doing to achieve that 90% is we take what's given to us by the actuaries, and we'll actually increase that by 0.3%. That represents about $5 million in additional funding. And we have been able to do that over the last few years. And because of that, we've gone from 76.8% funded to 80% funded. So we're on our way towards that 90%. Some of the things that affect this contribution are salary adjustments. So in the actuarial evaluation, they assume a 3.5% salary increase. Now, obviously that's not actual this year. It might not be actual for a few years. But what they are looking at is long-term. They're looking over decades of experience. So when they use a number of 3.5, like I said, they're looking at averages. They don't go back and adjust. They don't look and say, hey, you only gave a 1% raise in prior years, so we're going to adjust that. They look going forward. Changes in the workforce size. And again, they're looking long-term, but they're looking at what is going to be the growth for enrollment in new schools. Investment performance. So right now, currently, they're utilizing a 7% investment return annually. And this obviously is a big component because like I said before, if the goal is to keep contributing to this pension fund and we want the fund to build through accumulation of the funds that are in there, you want to have a good investment return. Now, if the investment return is inflated or it's not really coming to fruition, then they do have to look back at that. And then they might adjust their valuations going forward. So with that said, in this last valuation, they actually did say in their next valuation, which will be 7/1/2021, they are going to look at that because although we had good years, 2017, 18, we were up around 8%. But now it's gone to 5, and now we're we're on a little bit of a downslide. Although in the long run, somebody could look at that and say, well, we're going to be getting back up soon. So they're going to look at that. But whenever you have a trend, that's one of the assumptions that they look at. So other assumptions are mortality rates, turnover rates, inflation, and you guys, all of these really have an effect on our numbers. And given any year, it could have not a major effect, but it could change. So the actuaries actually did do a 5-year study, and that was done last year. And one of the things they found out was that people are retiring later. So all of these little things, not little, but all of these factors will have an effect on the bottom line number that they give us for an employer contribution. Next slide, please. So That was it for pension. I don't know if you guys have any questions on pension or if you just want me to address retiree or group insurance funds now.
Let me ask my colleagues. Ms. O'Neill?
No, he can continue.
Okay. Dr. Daka?
No, I have no questions at this point. Thank you.
Okay. All right.
So
Thank you.
Okay, so OPEB, like I said, pension has a whole lot of variables and a whole lot of assumptions. A few of them we mentioned before. I think we mentioned 5 or 6 there, but there's probably 10 to 12 assumptions. When you talk about projecting what the fund balance is going to be for retiree and active employee insurance, you take all those assumptions and you also have to add on, hey, what are the costs of health insurance going to be currently and in the future? And not to mention, what are the effects of COVID? So when you look at our strategy for these particular funds, it actually gets a little trickier. So what we've been doing over the last couple of years, and this appears in the letter as well too, we give the county council a summary of what our fund balance was the prior year, what we project for this year is going to happen, and then what our ending fund balance is going to be. So as you can see, prior to this year, our fund balance for the 2 funds was about 62 million, but we're going to end up at about 45 million. We actually project that that's going to go down even further, but that actually is part of the plan. The goal is going to be, we really want to get to about 25 to 30 million in a combined fund balance. And we feel that that's enough protection in case of downturns. I guess that's always subject to debate because there's other LEAs, in the state that actually ran into a lot of trouble where these particular funds started losing money and they were behind the 8 ball. So it is really something that Tony actually tracks very closely because we want to really see those trends from year to year. But that's about it for OPEB. So that's in the letter as well too, and that gives the county transparency of what we're doing for these 2 funds, which, like I said, represent 2 of the largest funds and available resources we have in the system. So.
Hey, Rob, this is Dan. Can I just add also 2 other very large factors here are premium costs and claims experience. And going through the COVID times now, claims experience has been very difficult to estimate moving forward. We know that people put off services during the early portions of COVID, but our actuaries, and we believe that claims experience is going to pick up very soon. A lot of the non-required health benefits or health services weren't done earlier during this period, but we fully expect and project that they're going to start very, very soon as the economy opens up and as different businesses open up and people have more confidence with their vaccinations and stuff, that the claims experience is going to go up. And we have factored that into these numbers. But thanks, Rob.
Yeah, and like Dan said, we're not doing this by ourselves. We have healthcare consultants that help us as well as the actuaries. So we're looking at a variety of different resources to try to get these numbers right.
Okay. Well, thank you. Let me ask my colleagues now if anybody has any questions or comments. Ms. O'Neill?
Yeah, I think the actual claims experiences, we've heard anecdotally that, knee replacements, hip replacements, that type of surgery was put off in this past year. And obviously there'll be a pent-up demand as people, feel more confident about that. And also hospitals releasing bed space. They were cautious because they didn't want to overwhelm the hospital system, with COVID patients and not have adequate beds. So I think there will be, more joint replacement and actual claims in this upcoming year.
Yep. Dr. Daka? Yeah, and I know, I'm here at Seneca Valley. We just had a little tour. And I think MCPS, we're also experiencing a little COVID baby boom. So more teachers going out on maternity leave as well. So that will also come into play, I think. And I'll just say, I mean, I really appreciate, I'm not a finance person, but I do appreciate the level of detail here, and also what to me appears to be a pretty well formulated, well informed, and conservative sort of fund balance strategy for these pensions. So yeah, thank you very much. And we'll be learning more about the nuances and details from our actuaries at our May 5th meeting. Little coming attractions there. Okay, so next thing on our agenda is an operating budget update. I guess now we moved our date of this meeting. It was supposed to be last Monday, but now at least we have the advantage of having seen the county executive's operating budget proposal. So look forward to hearing, Dan, this update.
Sure, be glad to. So as you've mentioned, Ms. Harris, we received the county executive's budget. Is there a slide deck, please? We received his proposed budget last week. So what we're going to do is go through a little bit of repeat material to say where we started, and then what the decisions were by the county executive. From where we sit, everything is good news right now. He supported our request, so that was a major positive for the school system. So we really appreciate that. Next slide, please. This should be familiar to you. It's stating that our budget is increasing by 0.9% from fiscal year 21 to fiscal year 22. It's a $24 million increase in total. So we'll get to the reasons for that in a minute, but it primarily is additional state aid that we did not anticipate, and the support of the county in our MOE. There were some restrictions on the state aid, and the county came through and met those requirements so that we could get this full funding. Next slide, please. Here's just a comparison between the 21-22 change in our budget. As you'll see, it's up to $24.3 million. The local revenue effectively comes in at $50,000 above MOE in 2021. So that's essentially flat, which is what the requirement was moving forward to get access to all of the state aid. The next line, the additional $24 million, is the majority of what we talked about for additional state aid. That's coming from the state. There's some Kerwin-like money in there. There's some tutoring grant money in there that we'll get to in a moment. And then there's some slight increases in our other revenues and federal revenues. Also built into this is we received a supplemental appropriation this year of $750,000 that's being used for restorative justice training in the schools. Next slide, please. So here's the major changes in our budget. Like I mentioned, we're receiving money that's very similar to what we received on the Kerwin Act money for fiscal year 2021. That was about $27 million. The state is providing, we're calling it blueprint-like money of $31 million, just an increase of $4 million. They're also providing us with $29 million in hold harmless resources. The reason for that is the reduction in the enrollments for number of students going into next year. We dropped a significant number of students this year, and the impact on MOE would have been significant. The state is saying that we will receive $29 million for MOE and for transportation for our special needs children. I think that's about $6 million of the 29.7. And that is if the county went ahead and is funding our MOE at or above the level we had in 2021 for 2022. Additionally, the state aid formulas identified $11.9 million reduction. That's based on comparative wealth calculations throughout the state. We are one of the wealthier counties in the state, so this year we took $11.9 million reduction there. And we're also receiving a supplemental tutoring grant of $20 million. So these all taken together increased our budget by $24 million. Next slide, please. This is just the slide we've shown over and over. This is just where the money comes from. As you'll see, about 63% of our budget is funded through Montgomery County. About 30% is through the state. The federal government provides about 3%, and then 12%, and then we receive small pockets of money from elsewhere. Fund balance to $25 million we push forward each year, our special revenue funds and some other grants in small categories. But once again, 93% of our budget is funded through the local and state contributions. Next slide, please. And once again, as we know, the vast majority of our money is spent on instruction and school support services. That's 94% of our money. We also have some system-wide support, which is 3%. And then the remaining amount is our trust fund, our enterprise special revenue funds. That's our food services and other small categories. Next slide, please. So I know that the board has been presented this. This is pretty widely now distributed. This is the early stages of our 2.5-year plan. What this demonstrates here is in fiscal year 2022, we will be able to take out of our operating budget a total of $30 million to start implementing new aspects of these four categories within our operating budget. Mitigate learning disruption, it's $10.8 million. Focus on the most poverty impacted schools is $9.5 million. Well-being support is $6.2 million. And the digital learning and support is $3.5 million. But just to note, this is new money. This is new money that we have not used previously for these categories. We've been doing this work for years, but this is the amount that we're able to dedicate out of our operating budget next year, in addition to the services we are currently providing. In addition to this $30 million, the $112 million we're receiving from the federal government in ESSER 2 funds will be applied for these categories. And in addition, we're still waiting on a final number, but there's the most recent federal legislation passed. I believe the state is getting approximately $1.9 to $1.95 billion for the school systems. We do not know exactly what our share will be, but we anticipate it being fairly significant, and we will also use some of those resources for these same 4 buckets of work. The ESSER 2 and then the new legislation, and I cannot remember the acronym, I apologize, will be used for these purposes, and they're multi-year grants. So we'll get that money over a number of years. So it's not as if we spend the full amount of the 112 and the second bucket of resources just next year. It'll go through fiscal year 2023. So it's the $30 million we're taking out of our operating budget, plus the additional 112 from ESSER 2, plus the other federal money that we still don't know how much it's going to be exactly, but we anticipate it being significant. And those resources these are allowable and encouraged uses of those resources. Next slide, please. So just some of the county executive's recommendations. He made his recommendation to the council on March 15th, and it's at a very high level. The county executive does not break it down by state category, and that interesting MCPS is about 44% of the entire county's operating budget. Next slide, please. So the county went ahead and has recommended our request, which is slightly above our fiscal year 2021 MOE for fiscal year 2022. And that was the trigger, like I mentioned, for us to receive full state funding. So the 40 million is above what our MOE would have been next year based on less students, less enrollment in the county. So it's the state and the county combined allowed us to maintain our MOE. The other issue here is we're still trying to clarify and clean up the issue of state aid versus grants. Right now, the county has scored these additional resources, the 112 as a grant, and the purpose for that would be is the county tries to keep a rainy day fund of 10% of appropriated dollars. If these dollars are part of the appropriated, then we would have to come up with, or the county would have to come up with 10% of this 112 as part of their rainy day fund. Since it's classified as a grant right now, they don't need to come up with 10% of the 112. So we're still working with them on the best way to score and display this, but the money is ours either way. So it's a display and scoring issue right now, but we will receive these dollars one way or the other. Next slide, please. So the two hold harmless grants, like we said, the county executive has agreed to fully fund us in 22 for MOE as we were funded in 21. And the rainy day fund, as I just explained, the 10% of either a grant or of an appropriated dollars. There's like a $10 million swing on what they'll have to have in their rainy day fund to meet their goal. And I believe their goal is what, 10%, Tom?
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you. Next slide, please. So here's what we believe MSDE is telling us, that it's a state aid, but yet the county is still scoring it at a grant. So that's what we're trying to work through, like I mentioned. And we're working with, and we've had discussions with OMB. And like I said, we're working through this, and we'll have this resolved one way or the other by the time the budget's finalized in June. But either way, it's a scoring issue and not a funding issue. So we'll be fine. Next slide, please. And if there's any questions, we will be glad to try to answer them. A lot of this is repetitive, but the county executive really supported our budget request, and it puts us in a much better position moving forward. So we appreciate his support very much. And like I said, I'm glad to answer any questions that anybody may have.
Ms. O'Neill, Dr. Daka.
I don't exactly have a question, but I'm glad to see on slide 8 and working with the county that they have agreed that they give us 44% of their budget, the county budget. They used to count the state and the federal funds and say they had given us 50%. And it made a very bad situation with the community because they were always wondering, well, what do you do with all that money if you have half of the budget? Not knowing that part of that budget came from federal funds and also came from state funds.
So it's about $6 billion, I believe, Dr. Daka, the county spends each year, and we get 44% of that $6 billion, 5.8 billion or so.
That's better than saying 50%.
That's right. I agree. Thank you.
Yep. Ms. O'Neill.
Well, you know, at this point in the budget process, and obviously it's not totally a done deal until the county council acts the end of May, and we take final action in June, we're in a much more favorable position than any of us had anticipated. I know that back in October when MABE, the Maryland Association of Boards of Education, held their conference, we were all talking about the need for a hold harmless because of the impact of reduced enrollment, not just in Montgomery County, but Baltimore County and Anne Arundel and Howard and on and on. And also the local commitment that makes it possible, really, for that hold harmless. So, we do have to express our appreciation to the county executive for recommending full funding, meeting the maintenance of effort, and then triggers on the state aid side the hold harmless. So, I know that all of us in the fall were really holding our breath and very worried about possible reductions that would need to happen. But we are in a more favorable position, and also whatever else comes to us from the federal government will be put to good use.
Yeah, I know, Ms. O'Neill, that we had that early on discussions in this exact committee of the potential of being $100 million in the hole starting next year. And that was pretty terrifying at that point. So things have worked out so far as well as we could have possibly hoped. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, I think all of us are taking a deep sigh of relief looking at the numbers. So appreciate the depth and the detail here. And Dan, just a couple of questions. So, or maybe an observation, as we're moving forward in successive fiscal years, as you've noted so clearly, a lot of the, especially federal monies for COVID recovery, the SR2, and the latest pieces of legislation, that funding bump for recovery will go away after September 23. So looking at how we plan around that moving forward in our successive budgets, I think is going to be really important, because we want to be in a place where we're building infrastructure and capacity that we can sustain after that money goes away. So one thing for us all to sort of really be focusing on and looking at closely. And then one other question. So I think, for the millions of viewers we have watching our committee meeting right now, there might be some interest in the the $20 million supplemental grant for instruction and tutoring. Could you just talk just a little bit more about that? Because I'm sure all of us on the board are hearing a lot about concerns about learning recovery, what opportunities will be available for students, how we're going to make sure students are connected to them. So if you could just share a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Right now, Dr. Smith and Dr. McKnight have created these teams, these cross teams of people within the community, people within MCPS, people who have an interest in going forward with the school system. And it's as part of the 2.5-year plan. And the discussions, which are early now for the 2.5-year plan, is how we will use these types of resources. For sure, we know we're going to use some of these resources for increased summer school. I know that we've announced already that summer school we're not going to collect tuition for summer school. So we'll need some of these resources for summer school, but we're also providing additional opportunities for tutoring, if it's one-on-one or if it's group tutoring. And that's what Dr. McKnight and folks are trying to really hone in on now, is exactly what those services would be. But these resources will support those additional learning opportunities for students moving forward. And I really appreciate the first comment you made about this one-time money, because I couldn't agree more with you that we have to be really careful in that we're not putting obligations that are indefinite out there with this $112 million, because it does go away. So it's an opportunity to do some things now that you may not be able to sustain in 3 or 4 years, but it's a great opportunity now to really move some things forward. So I really appreciate you saying that. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions or comments?
I was a bit remiss. I'm sorry. I was a bit remiss. I want to introduce everybody to Yvonne. Yvonne is new to this committee now. Yvonne Alfonso Windsor. I think most of you know Yvonne, but she was, you guys last week, appointed her as the budget supervisor for Montgomery County Public Schools. It's a huge deal. And we have all the confidence in the world that Yvonne is going to do a terrific job. So I just wanted everybody to meet Yvonne if you have not met her in the past. So thank you very much.
And so, yeah, Yvonne, you want to just say something quickly? We've all met you, but.
No, just thank you to them for introducing me, and I'm looking forward to working with everybody and continuing the work. Thank you.
Thank you. So now we are moving on to that very fun category always, the County Spending Affordability Guidelines, or SAG. So Tom and Dan.
This year we have good news, so we're going to have Tom do this presentation. Thank you.
Good morning, Ms. Harris, Dr. Daka, Ms. O'Neill. If we could bring up the PowerPoint slide for the discussion about the spending affordability guidelines, or as Ms. Harris referred to them as SAG. So next slide, please. So according to the county code, any agency requesting more funding in an operating budget than the county council's spending affordability guidelines allocation must submit by March 31st each year a prioritized list of expenditure reductions that would bring that budget to within the spending affordability guidelines allocation. So I've been at MCPS 9 years, and I've been involved in the SAG process for each of those 9 years. As Dan mentioned, it's going to be a little different for us this year, and that's good news. So if we could go to the next slide, please. One of the most important financial planning processes that occur in the county each year is the county setting a fiscal plan that looks at its projected revenues for income tax, for property tax, and other forms of revenue. That fiscal plan is for the upcoming budget year, fiscal 22, and then a 5-year projection beyond FY22 or through FY 2027. With that fiscal plan, it comes out in December. It comes out when the county executive releases his budget in March, and then it is updated in June by the county council after the appropriations for the year are set in May. So that fiscal plan is published 3 times a year. So with the December fiscal plan, the county council sets an aggregate SAG ceiling in January for county agencies. There's 4 county agencies, which MCPS is one of. The county agencies' operating budgets, and also for the real property tax ceiling for the next budget year. The SAG allocation for MCPS is our tax-supported budget, not the total operating budget, but our tax-supported budget. And the tax-supported budget excludes restricted grants like IDEA, for example, Title I, and so on, and our enterprise and special revenue funds. The SAG allocation for MCPS is typically based on a maintenance of effort contribution from the county and assumes no change in state aid from the prior fiscal year and no fund balance to fund next year's budget. So with the SAG allocation coming out in early January, they haven't seen at that point, the county council hasn't seen at that point the state budget that this governor submits in the 3rd week of January. And so the SAG allocation for us assumes no change in state aid, and also they don't assume fund balance to fund next year's budget. Next slide, please. So the county notes in the SAG process that these allocations are illustrative and not final. They're only goals. The final budget allocations are set by the council during the budget process when competing demands, priorities, and available resources are evaluated. The SAG allocations occur each year, like I said, before the governor's budget is submitted. But a recent change in the county code allows for an agency to factor in additional increases in state aid for exceeding the SAG allocation that the council sets in early January. Next slide, please. So let's talk numbers. And this table basically lays out for fiscal 22, the MCPS budget versus the SAG allocation. So back on January 7th, and that should be January 7th, 2021, the council set an allocation for MCPS, a SAG allocation of $2,550,700,000. Then when you, the board, tentatively adopted the MCPS operating budget for 22 on February 23rd, again, that should say 2021. We're always dealing with lots of years, and I apologize for not getting these slides correct. But back last month, the tax-supported budget that the board adopted was $2,584,700,000, or $34 million over the SAG allocation that the council set in January. And again, 9 years I've been doing this, and the board's budget typically exceeds the SAG allocation, mostly because of the state aid issue. So if you look, and as Dan briefed in the previous presentation, MCPS is receiving, or stands to receive, a $24 million increase in state aid for FY 2022. And in addition, as we've done in past years, we're using $25 million of fund balance from FY 21 to fund the FY 2022 budget. So combined, the $24 million change in state aid and the $25 million of fund balance being used to fund the 22 budget is a total of $49 million. And that amount exceeds the $34 million that the budget was over the SAG allocation from January. Next slide, please. Let me stop right there before we go. Maybe this is a good point to stop and ask the committee if you have any questions.
I don't think I don't have a question. Well, I do in a way, but I think the public should know where the fund balance that's being used comes from. What are we doing to get that fund balance?
That's a great question, Dr. Daka. And Dan, do you want to start it off?
Sure. For the past several years, we have been required by the county executive to essentially save, and the number has varied, but over the last several years, it's been $25 million out of our operating budget to push forward to the next fiscal year to go ahead, and that's to be used for fiscal year 22 expenses. So what we're doing is we're pushing forward some of our revenue, some of our budget authority into next year so that we can fund some of our expenses next year with current year money. We've been doing that for several years. And like I said early on, the numbers vary, but we've been consistently at $25 million. And we anticipate the same scenario next year where we're going to have to push $25 million from 22 into 23. And we get that savings generally through lapse and turnover throughout the year, because as people leave, you don't immediately refill their position. So there's a period of time we're not paying an open position. And we've been able to achieve most of those savings each year through lapse and turnover. Every position we have is anticipated to be funded. We fund every position going into the fiscal year, but the lapse and turnover allows us to push the money forward to the next fiscal year.
So if I could just add to that, each month, MCPS, the board receives a financial report starting in November, and we update that each month for the board, and it projects what changes in revenue and changes in expenditures. And so throughout the fiscal year, we're indicating to the board where we believe or project the fund balance for MCPS will be at the end of the year based on those adjustments to revenue and expenditures. So it's no surprise to the public at the end of the year that we have a fund balance like that. We're reporting that to the board each month. And Yvonne, maybe, is there something you want to say at this point about the financial report process and the reporting to the board?
Sure. So every month, the budget team and every office, we look at our expenses and our projections of how much is expected to be spent through the end of the year. And we also look at position accounts, lapse and turnover, vacancies. And through our analysis, it's determined where we project that there's going to be a balance to make up those $25 million that have to be used to fund the next year's budget.
Yeah, and I just wanted to chime in that, I mean, you know, I've been on the board 23 years. I don't remember a year where we did not have a projection of savings. And in fact, you know, during the recession of 08, 09, lingering into 10, you know, our savings amounted for more. And, you know, it resulted in us putting on freezes and hiring and freezing spending, which fortunately we've not had to do recently. But, you know, in a very, very large organization, we do have turnover of employees throughout the year. You know, and the other thing, it's also physically, you know, good management to not spend every single penny. You know, you don't do that with your own personal finances if you can avoid it, you know, so that you can anticipate for the future. But, you know, it has been a long-standing practice in Montgomery County.
Yeah. Any other questions or comments?
Could we go back to the slide deck now for a wrap up? So in summary, because the $24 million of additional state aid that we expect to receive in FY22, combined with the $25 million of MCPS fund balance totaling $49 million, and that exceeding the SAG gap of $34 million between what the SAG allocation was and the board's tentatively adopted tax-supported budget, the county council staff agree that MCPS is not required to submit a SAG letter this year that would identify reductions to our budget to get to the SAG allocation. This is the first time in 9 years, and so that's why I think Dan started off saying this is good news. So that's the end of this presentation. If you have any other questions, we'd be happy to answer them.
Any other questions or comments?
No, it really is good news because, you know, every year when we submit a list of non-recommended cuts, it creates sort of heartburn out in the community, you know, with what ifs and the worst case scenarios. So, you know, as I said, I think we're in a much more favorable position now. But, you know, Ms. Harris is absolutely right. The money from the federal government, you know, is not there in perpetuity. And so, you know, it's just like grant funds, you know, they go away. And so, you know, we have to be mindful of how that money is spent. But, you know, this is a better position than I think I've ever seen us. But, you know, we have a lot of recovery to do. So, because all of our children will be coming out of the pandemic, you know, with learning loss or having suffered the trauma of this past year.
Absolutely. So if there aren't any other questions or comments, thank you, Dan and Tom. And then that takes us to the next item on our agenda, which is hearing from the folks in facilities and in the sustainability office on kind of the first in a series of briefings they're going to be providing us on the MCPS's sustainability work and how we are looking to become a more sustainable school system, reducing our carbon footprint in a myriad of ways. And today, starting with looking at what we're doing around our facilities, utility procurement, and our renewable energy portfolio. So I'm going to turn it over now to Seth Adams and Lynn Zarate, and looking forward to this.
Well, thank you, Ms. Harris, and good morning to Ms. Harris, Dr. Daka, and Mrs. O'Neill. Just want to start and say, we are very excited. This is, we have a newly formed division of sustainability and compliance as part of our reorganization. And we felt it was really important to bring together a lot of our sustainability plans, our climate action goals, and create this internal advocacy group that can work with, our parents, our community members, our local, state officials as we start to build out our plans. I would just say too, our goals are very broad, and obviously when you think about an approach to sustainability, to think about an approach to climate action, there are a variety of different opportunities, and for us it's going to be really important to set some of those priorities and to move aggressive in some areas, and then to be very smart and strategic in others. But for us, it is going to be a great opportunity today to share just a little bit about, how our utility process works. The process of buying utilities. We do have over 26.5 million square feet. So keeping the lights on and that kind of square footage is pretty significant. But also we want to talk about generating power along the way and what that looks like and where our goals are. So again, we look to have a great discussion today, just to give you a high level snapshot of where we are. And by no means is this our full portfolio from a sustainability perspective, but just obviously one area we want to focus on today. So that, if we can pull up the slide deck, I'll just go over the outline before I turn it over. Next slide, please. So again, just to, we're going to go over the consumption of our utilities, the renewable side of our work that includes solar, and then just explore some of those next steps that we want to move forward with. So that I'm going to turn it over to the new director of the Division of Sustainability and Compliance, Ms. Lynn Zarate.
Thank you, Seth, and thank you, members of the Fiscal Management Committee, for inviting us to speak to you today. Also with me attending today is Ms. Sheila Plank, who is our Energy and Utilities Manager, and she helped a lot with preparing this presentation. Can we have the next slide, please? So if you take a look at our utility budget for fiscal 21, our utility budget is approximately $40 million. The largest bulk of that is electricity purchases, and then right after that, the next largest use of utilities is natural gas. Water and sewer is also significant, but we'll be focusing on electricity and natural gas today. Next slide, please. So if you take a look at our historical consumption in our 235 facilities over the past several decades, what you'll note is that despite the fact of increasing enrollment as well as increasing square footage, we have already taken concerted efforts to control our energy costs. Without those efforts, we obviously would not have the stability in the budget that we have to this point. And we need to continue along those lines and even become much more aggressive. What you'll see in this red line in this graph, however, is that instability, right? As we look at climate change and as we look at just normal fluctuation, you do see that there is some uncertainty from year to year, depending on the weather conditions that are out there. So we've got some certainties we plan with and some uncertainties. And so we're going to talk about what we do to mitigate that risk. Next slide, please. So in terms of procuring those utilities of electricity and natural gas, we follow a wholesale managed approach. It means basically it's very similar to what you hear when they're talking about purchasing stock futures. We work with a consultant called NLX, and we have a multi-year contract with them. And they are very knowledgeable about what the markets are doing, and they recommend the timing of those purchases for us in advance. So that allows us to lock in best pricing. So our target is so that we're purchasing our electricity and natural gas in blocks. We want to have 80% of that electricity purchased well in advance of that season. And then as it gets closer, we purchase that remaining 20% in certain ratios. Next slide, please. So why do we want to use this managed portfolio? Bottom line, it's for us to be able to save money. We're reducing our costs. We're purchasing directly from suppliers instead of through the middlemen, and we're able to stabilize market fluctuations and bottom line, not only reduce the cost, but also to try to bring that budget into more of a steady state type process. Next slide, please. So this graph shows where we were as of the middle of last month. If you can focus on the first two kind of spiky mountain-like graphs, the dark blue and the lighter blue, that shows what we anticipate the full complete need to be. However, with this 80-20% purchase strategy, what our target is to be following that white line. At any given point in time, we want to have advanced purchase at that white line level. So you can see that at this point, we're in March, April of 21. We've already purchased what we need from a targeting long-term perspective. If you look further out towards, say, July 22nd, October of 22, you'll see that we've actually purchased more of the utility than we had targeted, but we felt that it was a good point to purchase it at. And you'll see that we purchase it in blocks, right? So we've got higher amounts purchased the closer we are, and the further out, we're still planning to purchase those moving forward. And that's what we rely very heavily with our consultant to work on in terms of purchasing it at ideal pricing. The next slide shows it a little even better. It looks at natural gas. So obviously we know that there's the seasonal fluctuations, right? And so natural gas is the highest demand is in those winter months. So you can see where we are in terms of right now with, March, we've purchased all of that advanced. And if we need any extra purchase, we're going to purchase it on a daily basis. When you look at next winter, we've purchased some of it in advance and we still have a little bit more to purchase moving forward. Next slide, please. So even though we purchase the energy from the wholesale market, we still do business with our local utility companies because those local utilities provide the connection to the regional grid for us. The very significant thing to understand is that when we're a commercial business and the invoices that we receive are very different than the residential invoices that our customers and students are frequently see. What we see in a commercial perspective is that we have local distribution charges that MCPS has to pay. And very significant components of those local distribution charges are distribution charges and demand charges. And the way that these demand charges work is they look at how much energy do we use this year to be able to set the demand charges for the next year. So it's very important that we have a program that we're able to manage those demand charges and to reduce those charges to the maximum extent practicable for next year. So I'll talk a little bit about that on the next slide, please. So again, demand charges are a charge that are assessed to all commercial buildings. They increase or decrease based on our prior year's use. And so what MCPS has established for several years now is a peak load management program where we've been able to shave millions off of those potential costs that we could have incurred. So just like at home, when you get that call from Pepco and it says, hey, tomorrow's going to be a high energy use day, MCPS also has strategies for those days that are anticipated to be high energy use. Now, they're typically during the summertime when it's one of those super hot days. And so we have a program in place whereby we are ready to either curtail the air conditioning if needed or have building teams sweep the buildings to make sure we've got all those lights turned off. Everything we can during those really high peak demand periods. We're looking to reduce our energy use at those points and keep those demand charges for the next year low. I do want to let you know that we've also been trying to be very reasonable about this. We do get questions and concerns raised, and we deal with those on a one-by-one basis, frequently talking with principals about how can we manage this differently. Could a meeting be scheduled at a different time or something like that? So we are very responsive and want to make sure that we are, bottom line, addressing the needs of the students. Next slide, please.
And Lynn, I'm just going to chime in real quick. I think one of the things I would just highlight is the intersections of where we are with some of our energy, but also thinking about, recovery of learning. We have heard quite a bit about, how do we increase the summer opportunities? So a big part of our work, obviously is, how do we then start to build in some of that social aspect? We obviously know we can't turn the air conditioning off. When kids are in the building, we know we can't just turn the lights off. So, what are going to be some of those low-hanging fruit items that we can work on this summer? So I just wanted to share that, because as things change and evolve in MCPS, there's definitely multiple impacts along the way.
And thanks for reminding me about that, Seth. One of the things that impacts as a result of COVID is that we are running the ventilation a little bit longer in the buildings. And so that we have saving programs in place, we have had to modify operations for this year with the students returning, and do expect to see a little bit of an increase in energy use as a result of modifying those schedules. Okay, I'm going to shift gears a little bit over to what is renewable energy and what does MCPS do in terms of renewable energy. So there's renewable portfolio standards, which are state mandates that are designed to basically increase the generation of renewable sources of the energy, either in a regional area, state area, or local area. They require the producers to supply a certain number of electricity percentage from these renewable sources. And there's lots of different kinds of renewable sources that potentially could exist, things like wind, solar, geothermal, biomass, hydroelectricity. And obviously there's a lot going on in new technology and new systems that are being implemented, not only in the state of Maryland, but also across the country. Next slide, please. So in terms of Maryland, what does that mean for Maryland? In 2004, Maryland passed the Renewable Portfolio Standard, and that required the utilities to obtain the renewable energy credits, or they're called RECs, at an increasing scale throughout the years. And so currently, there's an increasing scale that MCPS will have to purchase more and more renewable energy moving forward. The current state law says that by 2030, we'll be having to purchase 50% of our electricity from renewable portfolios. In addition, or included in that 50% is the fact that they want solar to be at 14.5% by 2028. And the state also has targets for increasing offshore wind generation of electricity. Next slide, please. So MCPS has had an aggressive program of purchasing these RECs throughout the years. We are not at 100% yet. We are at 38% as of 2020, and I'll talk a little bit about that in some subsequent slides. But as you can see, in 2004, we weren't purchasing any renewable energy, and we have slowly increased that purchase over the years. Next slide, please. Okay, so there are two types of renewable energy credits that MCPS purchases. The first is what's required by the state of Maryland. That consists of 18% of our total electricity use in the past year, and the cost for these required RECs is over $600,000 each year. That's above the electricity costs that we're paying to the vendors. On top of that, MCPS has voluntarily participated in a county clean energy program, which at this point we're purchasing 20% of our total electricity use in this county clean energy program. And the county energy program is structured very differently than the state program, but that has cost us about $41,000. Next slide, please. What would it take for us to increase our RECs and increase our renewable energy use? Well, first of all, like I just said, our total cost of all the RECs that we purchased in the past year was about $644,000. If we wanted to go to 100% renewable energy, it depends which path we're going under. Are we going under the state program, which costs more and has increasing requirements, or would we go under the county program? That's one of the things that needs to be considered moving forward. But bottom line, the minimum cost to go to 100% renewable energy would add over $1 million probably to our existing budget. One of the very important considerations that we have to think about as we decide the various pros and cons of these options is, what if we took that $1 million and invested that into infrastructure improvements that would allow us to reduce our total energy use as well as reduce the cost of those future recs that are required. Remember, the state recs cost a lot more money than the county recs. And so if we could decrease our load, we would actually decrease future costs. So those are some of the considerations that we want to think about as we're thinking about renewable energy. The other factor when we think about renewable energy is our solar program. And I'm going to get into a little bit more detail in the next slides on that. But currently right now, the solar arrays that we have at the schools are not credited to MCPS. We do not get rec credit in the solar that we have. So the 38% that we're talking about does not include the solar that we have right now in our 17 schools. However, for our future solar installations, we're looking to see what are the cost benefit analyses that would be for us if we were to own those recs moving forward. So that's one of the things we're considering. Next slide, please. Okay, so as I mentioned, currently we have photovoltaic structures at 17 school sites. There are some factors to consider as we look at what future sites we would want to put solar on. Obviously, you've got to have a roof that's relatively new, because if you get a roof leak, you don't want to have to rip out your solar to be able to fix the roof leak. So that's a major factor, is the age of the infrastructure. The other factor is even the type of infrastructure we have. If we have roofs that are at 2 different levels, that can cause a lot of shading, and it wouldn't make a lot of sense to put solar in a place that's very shaded. Similarly, currently you can't retrofit a building and have a green roof and a solar roof on the same type of roof. It takes some complicated engineering to make that work. And so we do have a significant percentage of our schools that have the green roof. So as we are looking to expand our solar, which is something that we really want to do to the maximum extent practicable, we have to take a look at each individual site and determine, is this appropriate for solar at this point, or can we make it appropriate for solar in the future? However, like I said, we very much believe that expanding our solar power generation is something that we really do want to invest in. These solar sites have resulted in net savings of almost $300,000 each year, and more than 1.8 million over the life of the program since we started it. A little bit of detail about the different schools that do have solar power generation is shown on the next slide, if we can take a quick look at that. The first couple batches we did a batch of 4, and then we did another batch of 4, another batch of 4, and a batch of 5 back in 2018. So that slide right there shows you the names of the various schools that currently do have solar, and that information is also posted on our webpage if you want to take a look at it later. Next slide, please. So how do we get the solar on our schools? We use something called a power purchase agreement. It is a public-private partnership, which is basically a win-win for both organizations. The vendor is responsible for funding the very significant upfront costs that it takes to invest in a solar power array. The vendor is also responsible for the system performance, the system maintenance. They're making sure that it is actually producing solar for us. And we sign a 20-year contract with them so that they host the solar and they're actually providing clean energy to that host school. In terms of the benefits for MCPS, that allows us to lock into a long-term rate, which is typically much better than the rate that we are getting at the wholesale electricity rate. So that's another money savings right there for us. And we don't have any of those extra charges that we talked about earlier. But if it's a cloudy day or if it's a rainy day and we don't quite have enough sunshine to power the whole entire school, we're not going to have to worry about that, because we do have the ability to be able to bring in electricity if we need to from the grid.
And Lynn, I would just add here, one of the things that we've talked about with county executive is the fact that this process or this configuration works really because of tax credits to non-publics. When we think about MCPS purchasing and owning, we are not able to take advantage of the same tax credits that some of these private companies have benefited from. So that has been why this arrangement has made sense. But certainly, as we think about moving in the future, there are a lot of things that could be solved by us potentially owning our own solar panels, and we're just going to have to walk through and work through some of those legislative items, such as tax credits and those sorts of things. So just wanted to add that. So turn it back over to you, Lynn.
Right, that's a very important point because they can take advantage of those tax credits. Next slide, please. So as everybody I'm sure is familiar with, Montgomery County has declared a climate emergency, and there's a climate action plan that is almost finished. The goals in that climate action plan is an 80% reduction of greenhouse gases by 2027 and 100% reduction by 2035. And so obviously MCPS is going to have to continue to be very aggressive in how we look at energy as well as many other facets in order to help support this very important initiative in the county. Some of the requirements that are going to directly impact Montgomery County schools is new construction, including electrification of a lot of things and a ban on natural gas. And I know that the board had also recently approved the electrification of the bus fleet. So that's very significant too. But in addition to that, MCPS has a very significant educational and outreach role in this plan. And that's something that our division will be very much involved with in partnership with the outdoor education group. I think one of the best things about the County Climate Action Plan is it's brought together the county agencies on something that we can all agree that we need to work together on. I've seen such partnership and collaboration between the different agencies as we sit down to talk about the different target areas and figuring out how we can learn from each other, how we can share resources, how we can use common procurement methods. Bringing everybody together to solve this problem has been one of the best parts of this plan for me. Next slide, please. So as of right now, MCPS has had some energy programs in the past. In 2013, we received a United States Department of Education District Sustainability Award. Because of the work that we've done with our schools to this point, you'll see some of the highlights on this slide. 174 of the schools that we have actually beat the national average benchmark of Energy Star for K-12. We have 89 schools that are Maryland Green School certified. We know we want to have more than that. We have 11 schools that have received national recognition as green schools, 37 that are green schools, and do almost 200 sustainability related trainings each year. We're gonna do so much more than what we've got right now, but I just wanted to note that we have already had a focus on this, and we do have the beginnings of that culture change that we're trying to achieve with this County Climate Action Plan. Next slide, please. Some of the other strategies that you may or may not have heard about, the data center for all of MCPS has recently received a Maryland State grant, and they get approximately an ongoing savings of $20,000 each year because of the infrastructure improvements that they made in the past year or so. In addition, we are beginning that transition to LED lighting in our facilities system-wide. We hope to be able to accelerate that a little bit moving forward in the next several years. That will do a lot to help reduce energy costs. We've obviously got our CERT energy teams and our energy teams out there that are looking at system performance, energy use, and are working on changing cultures and behaviors in the schools. And we have staff members that are part of a countywide agency that just focuses in on utilities and energy management and to share best practices and to identify places of synergy. Next slide, please. So looking forward, like I said, that's going to be definitely one area where we add to our pile of tools in our toolbox that we have to be able to reduce our energy consumption, because consumption reduction is what we want to do. So we are in the process of preparing this RFP for a new solar power purchase agreement. It's going to target 7 schools with brand new roofs, as well as 1 newly constructed schools. And we have future plans also for additional solar, but this is the phase 1 that we're working on right now. In addition, we're working with designers of the new construction to begin to incorporate solar at a much earlier part in the new construction process so that we can, go live much earlier. Next slide, please. Some other highlights of what we want the new world to look like in terms of energy and conservation. Seth already mentioned we have reorganized within the Department of Facilities Management, and we're focusing on sustainability, what we need to do for the future. We obviously have an energy conservation policy already in Montgomery County Public Schools. That does need to be updated, and we are planning to create a system-wide sustainability that will work very closely with the board on and setting some specific goals for MCPS. One of these goals that's very important to us is increasing our secondary student engagement, as well as the number of Maryland Green schools. And the last slide has the final. We are going to need some money to make some of this work. So we're in the process of preparing capital budget requests for net zero ready facilities and new construction, again, so that we can reduce energy consumption at the same time while we're building the new square footage. And as Seth mentioned, with the power purchase agreement and other types of mechanisms out there, we're looking at what are other ways that we can explore those energy savings opportunities using the public and private partnerships that take advantage of the grants that are out there and the tax credits that are out there, and really result in some significant infrastructure improvements for Montgomery County schools, things that are so sorely needed for us. And last but not least, we're looking to identify ways to use technology to save energy and resources. Any questions?
Ms. O'Neill.
Yeah, I have a couple questions. One, I know, we should definitely put policy ECA on our work plan in the policy management committee and possibly jointly collaborate with Ms. Harris and the fiscal management committee. We've got an overlap of committee members anyway. But are we still building schools with the geothermal exchange systems? I know like Matsunaga was built that way. For a while we were doing that. I mean, we did that, I think, with, I don't know, was it Cabin John or Bell's Mill?
Yes, we still are. Okay, hold on one second, I can get the exact number. Oh, that computer's on.
And while you're looking that up, Lynn, I'll just give a little bit of background on it. So we were very aggressive on the GeoExchange installation process very early on because there were huge deltas in terms of the efficiencies of buildings with that particular system. As advances were made in HVAC systems, those gaps are becoming, a bit closer and closer. So on each project, we still do GeoExchange systems, but there are projects where it doesn't make sense. I've highlighted to a couple of our local delegates. You think about a Seneca Valley project where you're building a new school directly next to an older school. Your real estate, in order to take up that earthwork to put in a GeoExchange system, starts to add a lot of extra cost on the front end. Therefore your paybacks just stretch way out. So I think between the advances and some of those complexities on the site, there are other options out there. But certainly that is one item in our portfolio. I would just say it's a great question too, because there's actually legislation that's being considered at the state right now that would mandate all projects have GeoExchange systems. And we've definitely argued that that's the right intent, but it could also create a really significant cost challenges for some of the reasons that I've highlighted, just around site costs and logistics and those sorts of things. But sorry, Lynn, I don't know if you have the total number.
We have 32 schools with GeoExchange systems, and I will add to Seth's. I'm working with the Division of Construction, and we're looking at it for each type of school. Does it make sense? Doesn't it make sense? And we have seen where the technology has made the mechanical equipment be so much more efficient that it's really a consideration you have to look at in each school, because sometimes the ground conditions don't even allow for you to be able to put in the GeoExchange system. So, but it is something that's definitely being considered in each scenario.
And I know we're looking at solar arrays on school roofs. And for a few years ago, there was conversation a proposal to put in a large solar farm on a couple of vacant or future school sites that we have no intention or nothing within like a long, 20-year period of time of building on. Have we reconsidered that? I mean, there was pushback from community members about us doing that, but we do have quite a few school sites that really, we don't have any plans, to build on. And, possibly the climate crisis has changed some people's minds. Is it something that we could reconsider?
I would say yes. I think there's two parts to that. One of those areas of consideration that we're going to explore, and we're talking about ground mount. So, there's the roof mounted, and then there's the ground mount. One of the ground mount opportunities we're looking at is potentially even covered parking. You think even, a site like our Carver Educational Services building, significant, surface area. If we were to do covered parking with solar on the roof, what does that start to look like? I think when we think about, the solar ground mount farms, like if it were just, out in an open area, those are becoming more and more difficult. I think in this county, I know that the county's looking at, the landfill site to put in a solar farm there. We looked over in that Laytonsville area, right by Laytonsville Golf Course as an option. But I think at the same time, we're also, I think, this morning there was a conversation at GO committee at the council about bus depots and parking buses. So we're definitely going to start to look at, is there land that makes sense for, maybe two purposes? Could we park buses and have solar? So the answer is absolutely yes, but I think we're definitely broadening our view of these opportunities as we move forward.
Dr. Daka?
I want to really thank you for this really comprehensive report, comprehensive in the sense that we're asked these questions all the time, and this gives us a chance to be able to answer them, particularly about the roofs. We try to explain that all roofs are not available for solar technology, and the geothermal, you've talked about that, with that the property itself may not be good for it. It's really been very helpful. And also you listed some of the other items that we use for energy saving, besides those two things that I mentioned. So thank you very much for clarifying some of this, and we'll be back to you if we get a lot of questions. Thank you.
Yeah, and I have, it comes as no surprise, I have a few questions. So the first question, if you could just explain a little bit about how our purchasing intersects between, our bulk purchasing on the wholesale market and our RECs. How are those, are we able to, with our consultants' guidance, purchase RECs in advance, or how does that work?
So the RECs are recommended to be purchased, but we have to purchase it based on, first we have to purchase what's based on required, right? And we have to do that. Yep. Basically, we are invoiced for that, and we pay that on an annual basis. That is something that we pay above the cost for the actual energy. So if we wanted to purchase more RECs, in the next month or something like that, we could do that if that's something that we decided that we wanted to do and would be in the best long-term interest. Yeah.
And I would also add too, there's a piece between buying renewables that are just, sort of the idea of buy renewables, right? So if let's say you were buying renewables through a company that's located in Texas, is that the same as buying renewables that were maybe supported by Maryland businesses or local organizations? So there's definitely some different strategies out there in terms of how we purchase those renewables. I think the other piece too is, we're going to have to continue to work with our local distribution. That's both PEPCO and BG&E. And just think about, are there legislative changes that can happen in the state of Maryland that would benefit this, that would help this process? We see some really neat initiatives happening down in Virginia, and that's because of those distribution organizations. There's different opportunities for folks down there to purchase and to invest in renewables than what we have up here. So there's definitely some legislative work that we have to do as a state, to move the needle on this. But, I think the answer is yes, they do intersect. But, I think for us, we do want to invest in Maryland. We want to invest in technologies in Maryland. And if that's a first opportunity, we definitely want to pursue that one before we just start broadening it to more of a nationwide search at that point.
And could you explain, you mentioned that MCPS currently, we can't count the solar that we are generating against our REC credit. Why is that?
So in the original 3 PPAs, power purchase agreements that we have, we actually granted that over to the vendor. That was a legal part of that agreement. In this future one, we're going to look at the pricing option of, okay, if we keep the RECs, what will that do for us? Or if we let the vendor take the RECs, what does that do for us price-wise? So, but it's a contractual arrangement with the existing contracts that we do not own those RECs.
And again, that gets back to the opportunities, the credits, the grants that they are able. So part of their process is they themselves owning these renewable credits. Again, so I think there's definitely an opportunity to move the needle. If we own those RECs, the charges that we would see for the energy is obviously going to go up because it reduces their ability. But I think at the same time, we want to encourage investment in these private firms in our buildings too. So it is going to be a balance as we move forward.
Yeah, I mean, I really appreciated hearing about the enhanced interest in really pursuing the power purchase agreements and these public-private partnerships. And I guess, so part of my question is, I'm sitting here in the new Seneca Valley High School. And one of the questions I asked when we got a little bit of a tour earlier was, so they have a green roof, but they don't have any solar. And I'm, looking at this site, which is very much not shaded. And, similarly looking at sites like the new Edison and the new Wheaton, which are also sites that aren't shaded, but I know the Edison is a green roof with no solar. What is the thinking or the process that goes into determining, and you've mentioned already, looking at solar at 7, you're targeting 7 schools and 1 new construction. So what is that conversation like, that when we're building a new school like Seneca Valley, we aren't at the get-go looking at the roof and the site as one that might really be optimal for solar installation?
And that is a great question, and one that we're asked all the time. I would just say, when you're comparing sustainability, you're comparing sustainable options, sometimes those choices are tough. I would say the county as a whole has really had a greater emphasis on stormwater management, and hence the reason we have vegetated roofs. If you walk the grounds of Seneca Valley, you're going to see bioretention ponds on pretty much every spot we could possibly squeeze them into on that site. I think we have 30 some bioretention facilities on the Seneca Valley site. So I think for us, we're looking for opportunities, but also I think as a board and as a committee, we need to be very upfront in the fact that as we build in a more of an urban fashion, meaning we go up and we try to reduce our footprint, solar opportunities become more and more difficult to achieve when you're competing against stormwater management and the water quality side. So again, for us, some of the things we're going to start to look for is, can we do, like parking? Can we do covered parking? Because those are going to be opportunities that are going to have to be pursued. They have been very much cost prohibitive in the past, but as technology is evolving, it's becoming an option now. I think even if we were to start Seneca Valley today, you'd think about a 5-story building. Technology when we started design on window, there's solar film that can go on the exterior buildings. That technology was cost prohibitive. That's becoming more and more prevalent, and those opportunities are presenting themselves. So what I would say to your question is that we are looking for all options. When we're balancing the sustainable goals and pursuits, sometimes we do have to make some difficult decisions. But I think the big steps here are technology plus the fact that the county is investing in their climate action plan. And I think in that investment, it's going to bring to light that we can solve multiple things. We don't necessarily have to go put all our eggs in one bucket. We can balance it and spread it on these newer projects, and hopefully we'll continue those discussions as a county group, versus just focusing on one of the items at a time. Hopefully that answers your question, but it's a tough one, definitely.
Well, yeah. So could you talk a little bit about you mentioned the 7 schools and the 1 new construction that you're looking at for the power purchase agreements. So can you share which schools those are?
I don't have that in front of me right now. They are 7 schools that recently got new roofs on them. And
the new one is Neelsville. We're working on that one. We're hopeful that, I think as I presented at preliminary plans, we're hopeful we can create almost a net zero ready building. And the way to achieve net zero is actually through energy production, which means solar. So we're going to explore some creative options on Neelsville. And, again, you heard from Lynn about the CIP. We are also considering in this round of the CIP creating a separate bucket of money to be dedicated within the CIP for net zero and other sustainable goals. It's a little unconventional, but it's one that we're sort of kicking the tires on early to see if there's an opportunity to move and create some resources to be able to fund some of these initiatives.
Yeah, and just could you talk a little bit more too about how the school system is working really closely with the county on the Montgomery County Climate Action Plan? Because I know that that work is really moving forward rapidly, and there's a great deal of emphasis on engaging the community writ large throughout the county on the county's climate action work. So
we had the Youth Climate Town Hall on February 11th. I believe you were able to join us for part of that. And that was a really great session that went way too fast. It was going to be the first of many future engagements with the students. But we heard very loud and clear from the students the need for an ability for them to network with their peers. The pandemic might have enhanced that need, but it existed beforehand. And in the school, especially the high school students, they just wanted to network with the other schools and find out what the best practice is. And there were so many of the students saying, wow, I never thought of that. Wow, I never thought of that. So just that sharing of learning that happened there. So that's one thing from the school's perspective. From the county agency perspective, there's a climate leadership team that meets on a regular basis. And there are also subgroup teams that meet to talk about electric vehicles, talk about transportation, talk about energy. There's one other category too that we're just bringing the subject matter experts together to talk about these things and to share our best practices. And one of the commitments that we've also made moving forward is to try to focus different meetings on different specific topics. So it's very much bring all of your people that have any interest in this to this meeting so we can introduce themselves to each other and share that knowledge across the agencies. There's a lot of great stuff happening, but we want to, not only like we're getting rid of silos in MCPS, we're trying to get rid of those silos across the county and have the agencies talk to each other and learn from each other. Does that answer your question?
And share a little bit. You said, it's a priority to really partner with students, which always makes me happy because they are, first of all, they're going to outlive all of us. And so, they are very invested in creating a much more sustainable future. And they're smart and they're energetic and they have a lot of ideas. So in what ways are you in sustainability partnering with students, or what kinds of plans do you have to sort of scale that up?
So during COVID, it's been a little tough. We've been speaking with our CERT team leaders at each of the schools, and we've been sharing information with them. But moving forward, like you said, there are students that have some great ideas. So one of the things, and I'm brainstorming here, but one of the things that we've talked about is having grants available for them. If they want to start a specific program at their school and they need grant funding, if they've met certain prerequisite criteria that they're meeting the basics at their school, then they would be eligible to apply for a grant to be able to fund some type of project that they're working on. Not all projects need money. How are other ways that we can support them? We've talked about community stream cleanup days. Can't quite do during COVID, but as soon as COVID's over, we'll be doing stuff like that, engaging them at their level, getting them, support them at their interests, but also getting them to that next level when they're looking for that next big project. But like you said, a lot of them already have great ideas and just need that administrative support. And so we want to be there to help them with that. And I think it's also
one question.
I was just going to say, it's important to note that when the students get to high school, they're very different than those elementary school students, right? And we've got work to do in how we engage them moving forward, right? And how we partner with them moving forward.
Yeah, and I think the students are an amazing resource for us, especially when we have the goal of increasing dramatically our number of green schools. And I know from having been at a school that formed up a green team and worked with CERT to get that certification, a lot of that work can be very student driven and student accomplished. And so you were saying, looking to partner with secondary students, but I think, we have elementary students who are also very interested in doing work at their school to reduce its footprint and to partner with MCPS around, say, the Green School Initiative. And then even if you are looking at, getting students collaborating together, elementary, middle, high, teams of students working together, to create green schools in a cluster, I think is also a model that, we have, MOCO students on climate and other groups in the Sunrise groups in our schools that are already really looking to creatively partner and work both inside the school system and outside. And a great opportunity for us to really harness some of that student-led energy to work, as I know you all have ambitious plans for sort of reimagining the sustainability work, and really encourage us to make sure students are part of are really viewed as partners in that work instead of sort of a secondary add-on that's nice to have.
Absolutely.
And one other question, and maybe this gets to some ways we do seem to silo a little bit of our work in MCPS. We're a huge system, but a lot of our students have expressed a lot of interest in reimagining our science curriculum to make it actually climate science current, which it is not at the moment. And a group of them have already started meeting with OSIP to sort of take a look at the K-8 science curriculum and then the electives and the science courses in high schools to see where we're currently not necessarily climate current, but could improve. Is that some work that you could see bringing the expertise of the sustainability group to bear on even working on partnering on the creation of curriculum with OSIP?
I know that is a task that Laura Jenkins has taken on so far, and she's been working with the curriculum office on that. I think certainly supporting some of that work would be something our office would do, but we haven't traditionally worked so much on the curriculum side. I do talk very regularly with Laura Jenkins, though, from the Smith Center.
And I would add though, so we have the sort of the foundations of that work. So part of LEED certified schools is to try to incorporate some of that building work into curriculum. And while it necessarily hasn't been built into the mainstream, it has been built in successfully at, some individual schools with individual teachers. So, we definitely have the foundations to build off of that work. And that's that partnership with, Outdoor Ed with Laura Jenkins and to definitely move that forward. But we hear a lot around outdoor education. How does that segue into sustainability? And then, also how does our work in facilities? How do we provide those platforms for them to learn about some of this, to see it, feel it, work with it, and be able to move it forward. So definitely there, and we will definitely start to build upon that and see how we can move the needle. And it was very encouraging to hear Mr. Morella say that there might be a few dollars to jumpstart some initiatives along the way. So we certainly will be calling Mr. Morella in the near future to see what exists.
Yeah, that's always the problem, having a meeting with Seth. It costs me money every time.
To add to what Seth said, what I envision us being able to support is the data, right? Right now, there's a lot of data that we can share about how the school is performing energy-wise. I mean, there's already a lot up there, but there's more that we can do, different technology, them being able to have more visibility into how their school's performing. So that was kind of rolled in. We would help share the data with them, and they can use the data in the curriculum, right? So that's how we would be supporting that.
Yeah. Well, and I have to say, the CERT team, I think, are just unsung crown jewels in the school system. And, I have loved for years working with Jim Stuft, who I know retired in January, and I'm sad about that. But I know he's still working on green school work and, is still out there to partner with and support students and others in that work. So that's, it's such a, I saw with my own eyes how he could come in and teach 8-year-olds how to use light meters and do an energy audit in their school and help them track, record the data, track the data, share the data. And, it was, training these students in so many of the core areas of work that we say as a school system is important for them to learn. So it really does. It's not so much an add-on as it is an augmenting of the work that they're doing in their own classrooms, and they're applying it in the real world. And then they're seeing how their application of their own knowledge is making a difference in their school. So it's like win, 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 win. So I don't have any other questions right now. I'm just going to go back around. And Ms. O'Neill?
Yeah, I want to say thank you. And, sometimes I think that we don't toot our own horn enough. I mean, because the use of geothermal exchange and putting solar roofs and building LEED certified schools, we were doing before things were mandated. And, Dr. Smith talks about we have a parade of people coming through MCPS, and we do. And our students, and I think, I think many of them don't realize what we're doing. Of course, we need to do more. I believe I need to leave a legacy that prepares the world for my grandchildren, not for me. They'll be the inhabitants when I'm long gone. But I think that people don't realize what we have been doing. I mean, the geothermal I think at Matsunaga was the first, and that was a long time ago. And, we have been doing quite a bit. And, the purchasing of the electric buses, the 25, is very important. But I think that people forget, you come in on this story at your moment in time. And, CERT has been around a long time. I know Sean Gallagher used to do a presentation, and we did a presentation with Fairfax, Arlington, and Alexandria about sustainability, and they were just blown away because we were way far ahead of what they were doing. But it isn't enough, and we shouldn't just rest on our laurels, but people do need to know that we haven't been negligent.
Dr. Daka, any other questions or comments?
No, I like the idea of working with our curriculum. I know that you were saying that we haven't done that before, but I think it's important because many of these questions do come from students, as you alluded to, Lynn, and they don't think we're doing enough, but they don't really know all the things we're doing. And if it's not all one thing, they think, well, you're not doing anything. And I always think when they present the plans for renovations or additions or new schools, that I'm always interested in the things that we do to conserve energy. So thank you so much for that. And I think that that's one way that we can let people know that we're doing this. And I agree with Pat, we do not toot our own horn enough. Thank you.
Yeah, I was sitting here in the building and as we were talking about summer school and how we need to plan, around even things like our utility usage with what we're assuming we will have quite enhanced uptake of summer learning. And I was sitting here thinking, well, you know what? They can turn all the lights off here at Seneca Valley because there's so many windows. And I'm like, those kinds of things it just goes to looking at how we're designing our buildings and, kind of being very future looking in those ways. And I also wanted to thank Ms. O'Neill for the mentioning, the opportunities here for the facilities team, the sustainability team, the policy management committee and fiscal management committee to work together to kind of look at policy ECA. And what, you have some really ambitious ideas and goals, and how we can make sure that, we're really supporting where you want to take the school system. Okay, I think if any other questions or comments, I think we are ready to move on. Is there, let me see, looks like board expenditure report. That'll be sexy.
So you have this semi-annual expenditure takes place from July to December. And so it was in the midst of the pandemic. So you'll see that it is, many of our professional development opportunities, the opportunities to gather in powerful community with our various communities were limited or non-existent. So it is quite a sparse report.
So it's posted now, correct? And is it just posted under fiscal management or in the Board of Education?
Currently, it's posted under fiscal management.
Because I know that members of the public like to just see. So anyway.
So, and I'm going to lean on the wisdom of my more experienced colleagues. Do we need to vote to accept that, or is this just informational? Okay.
It's informational.
Okay. And then the next thing, is there any new business? Okay, then I will just leave us with a little, coming attractions promotion for our May 5 meeting. As we discussed at our February 2nd meeting, our actuarial friends from Clifton Larson Allen and GRS Consulting have offered to come and give us sort of a presentation about sort of what they do 101. So looking at forecasting, assumptions that they make for long-term liabilities and the real dollars that go behind the investments that we report. And so they'll be doing that with us at our next meeting on May 5. I'm looking forward to that. Like I said, I'm not a finance person, so I think that they're looking to pitch that in a way that helps all of us get a better, clearer, easier understanding of how their work and how it benefits us as a school system. Yeah, that will be, well, of course, our meetings are public, but kind of will also promote that a little bit more widely to people inside the system that may really want to get a better understanding of that part of the work too. And any other questions or comments before we adjourn? Okay, then I want to thank everybody for all of the work that you're doing, all the ways that you're keeping us moving forward, meeting all of our obligations, and now and looking into the future. So we are adjourned. Thanks everybody again.